Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom. With Nathan Drinkard, I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thank you for spending some of your time with us today. As a reminder to all our listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube with each show segment available. Head on over and like what you hear. We would appreciate your subscription. What's going on, Drinks? It's you and me today, man. How's it going? Saturday, football's back, man.
You know what it is. You know I'm in a good mood. We got football, we got NFL to talk about. I know we got college football to talk about. So, hey, I'm happy to be here. You know, I'm excited. I'm glad we got some stuff to talk about. So you know what it is. You know what time it is. Let's talk some sports, baby. Let's roll, baby.
Let's do it, man. In episode 2 of season 2, the NBA playoffs roll on. We give our NFL award predictions and preview the weekend of college and NFL football. Let's go ahead and begin tonight in the world of the NFL with the first game of the 2020 season. The defending Super Bowl champions defeated the Houston Texans 34-20 in a socially distanced Arrowhead Stadium Thursday night. The Chiefs' near billion-dollar offense looked pretty sharp as Mahomes led long drives, racked up 211 yards of offense with 3 touchdowns. The Texans started fast, and they sort of failed to find the rhythm there, and some frantic drives did push the score close late, but the Chiefs dominated most of the game, for being honest. So, Drink, the result likely wasn't surprising to many folks. Did anything else stand out to you about this game?
Well, hey, first and foremost, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this right off the top. The attitude of the fans, that was unacceptable. That bull crap. First of all, I think we gotta think about where we at as a country, where we at as a world, to be honest with you. With COVID coming out, it was already, listen, you open up the stadium, you only let 25% of the stadium be filled. So that means anybody that had a ticket to those games was in a very, very small select group, meaning you should be more appreciative that you was sitting in the stands while this game was being played. Because it's a whole 75% of fans that can be in that stadium that was not there for right reasons. Now, okay, you're there, you paid your money, I got it. You have your right to have your opinion about things. But when these teams decide to lock arms and make a gesture for social injustice, it wasn't like they were saying, hey, we're out of here. We're not going to play football today. We just suckered y'all into paying y'all money. Good luck with a refund. That's not what they was doing. They came out and they made a gesture. They locked arms. It lasted like 5 minutes. It wasn't nothing crazy. And they had pretty much what I would equate to a moment of silence for the, the invincible violence that's going on in the country today. That's what that was. They wasn't disrespecting nobody. They didn't say this group is better than that group. It wasn't anything of that sort. And then for those fans, instead of them just sitting there and, okay, we're not expecting you to lock arms because you got to be social distancing, but just sit there and let them do what they got to do their protest, send their message to the 1%, because that's what that was for, to open their eyes, and then let's roll. No, we got boo, boo. I wasn't a fan of that. I was quite disturbed by that, to be honest with you. And look, and here's the deal. I got something for you. If this would have been an NBA game and the fans would have pulled that, I guarantee you better pay attention because those players would have said, oh, okay, cool. Back to the locker room. We out. Good luck getting your money back. You're lucky it was the NFL and not the NBA. And I think all the fans that watch that game on that television, all the media personnel, et cetera, don't let that get too far ahead of you. All those people need to sit down and just think about, like, that, how disrespectful that was. Like, I don't get it. These players could have easily not been playing. How interesting is that game if Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes not playing? Or Tyreek Hill, David Johnson for that fact of the matter. Or Andy Reid decide, man, I'm too old for this. Let me go sit down somewhere. I ain't trying to catch COVID. So you have to think about this. All of these people are putting their health at risk. I'm not saying they was doing it for free, but they was putting their health at risk to entertain us. They didn't have to do that. And how do we repay them? Boo! Like, that ain't it. So I'm hoping I'm hoping we don't see that anymore for the rest of the NFL season. I'm hoping we'll see. Because I like how everybody want to say, if you take a knee, right, you're disrespecting the military. But then when the players are just trying to protest without taking a knee, you still booing them. So what's the alternative here? Right. What is the alternative here? You know? So I wasn't a big fan of that, but enough of that to get to the actual game itself. You know, Kansas City was Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes started slow. I thought he started a little slow. But I need to put that slow start on Demetrius Robinson. I don't know what he did before the game. I guess, a lack of preseason, something. But Demetrius Robinson, listen. And for those that don't know who Demetrius Robinson is, that was number 11 for the Kansas City Chiefs. He dropped 2 touchdowns. That ain't going to cut it. 2 of them. The first one he dropped, okay, that was a very competitive play. I think he underestimated the skill level of Patrick Mahomes because I don't think he thought the ball was going to get dropped in his lap like that with the defender draped on him, but it did, and then he dropped it. And then the second one was like, I want to say right before halftime, where Mahomes does his patented, I'm going to bend this football around a football player throw, and it curved around and hit Demetrius Robinson in the breadbasket, and then he dropped that one too. And I'm just like, review. Oh, that's a basketball thing. No, review his playing time. Get him on the sideline. Because what are we doing here? Like, Demetrius, what are we doing? DeMarcus, I should say. I'm sorry. DeMarcus, what are we doing here? Like, you got to catch those. But the Chiefs overcame it. You could definitely tell the lack of preseason hurt the Texans a lot more than it hurts the Chiefs. When you look at all those new pieces that the Texans were trying to incorporate, they needed the preseason. They really did. The Chiefs, they had a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt because the majority of their team outside of Clyde Edwards, he left. We knew of, they didn't play together, that we knew what was going to get. And did I say Clyde Edwards, he left? Let's talk about Clyde Edwards, he left for a minute. I remember when we was watching the draft and we was texting, and we was like, well, I wonder what's going to happen here. With the 32nd pick, the Kansas City Chiefs pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back, Louisiana State University. Hold on, let me check. Ain't DeAndre Swift still on the board? Ain't J.K. Dobbins still on the board? Jonathan Taylor still on the board? How did he get picked first? And we kind of was like a little baffled, but then I think we came to our senses and we talked about it and said, he might just fit their scheme better. That's what we seen last night. He fits what they want to do. His low center of gravity, his hands, his aggressive, he put on a clinic for a rookie first game. He really did. Now the question is, can he sustain that clinic he put on? He was fantastic. And I'm telling you right now, you give Patrick Mahomes a run game like that, it's going to be tough to beat him. You're going to have to put up some points to beat him. Because if he can rely on his running back like he did last night, or like he did Thursday night, it's going to be tough to beat him. It really is. It's going to be tough to beat him. So I was very impressed with him. He ran over 100. I think he broke a record for a rookie running back in his first game with the rushing and receiving scrimmage yards. He looked fantastic. I'm willing to say he looked better Thursday night than he looked against my boys in Tuscaloosa last year. You know what I'm saying? He looked fantastic. Very impressed with that. Like I said, can't say enough about Patrick Mahomes' performance. He did what he do. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, the whole crew. Another thing, did you see Andy Reid out there looking like a firefighter? Who idea was that?
Need a little windshield wiper to put a little motor on top and a little wiper to just kind of keep it clear for him.
I'm like, what? He out here trying to call a play. He got to turn this thing to the side. It's all fogged up. He needed a defroster. It was just, who idea was that? I hope they got to fix that. I understand Andy Reid is older and you want to protect them. You got to fix that. I don't know what's going on with that. That was a tad bit ridiculous, if I must say so myself. So that got my attention. Now let's go over. Let's talk about Texas for a little bit. Deshaun Watson, he did about what he can do. That offense was a little bit anemic. Shouts out to David Johnson. We see some of that old juice.
He looked good.
He came out. He did. He looked a lot better than I gave him credit for. So I gotta definitely say he did give Deshaun Watson, I thought, a different dimension than what he's used to. Because he used to have a ragtag running backs back there that might get you 100 yards on a good day. David Johnson ran the ball well. I got to give him credit for that. I thought the offensive line played well. I just felt like Deshaun Watson didn't get enough help from his receiving core. I thought that was the weak portion. And we said that. When your top two of your top three receivers are guys from other teams and you don't have a preseason, we knew that they was going to have a bit of an adjustment, a bit of a problem. But in that I think it was that first drive or second drive where they drove down the field and David Johnson ended up scoring that touchdown. So, myself, I'm thinking like, okay, they might be more together than I thought. And then we see the rest of the game unfold, and it's like, all right, now you see you got Kenny Stills out here giving you 70%. I forgot Randall Cobb even played on the team until I think he got his first pass third quarter or something. And he caught a little joint behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Cobb and Cooks combined for 4 catches of 43 yards. They were 2 for 20 something each. Yeah, it wasn't a big performance from them, no.
So, you know what I'm saying? So you forget those two, and so that only leaves you with Fuller and Stills. And Stills, like I said, I just wasn't. I don't know what that was about. So he had to depend on the tight ends a lot more than he probably wanted to. Fuller was hit or miss. He did catch over 100 yards.
8 for 112. That's solid.
So he wasn't there or anything. But you gotta, as you expect, when DeAndre Hopkins left, now Will Fuller, you are considered the number one receiver there now. So you're gonna have to take ownership a little bit more. I thought you got to take a little bit more ownership. You got to make your franchise quarterback feel like he can trust you, like DeAndre Hopkins did when he was there. Because that's your role now. It is what it is. I ain't say you asked for it, but that is your role. So I seen that they definitely got some things that need to work out there. Now let's talk about defense a little bit. The defense. I thought the front seven of Houston wasn't terrible. Listen, Kansas City make anybody's secondary look bad. I don't care. They're gonna find a weak link because they have so many weapons, and they're gonna pick on that weak link. So they can make anybody's secondary look bad. However, it's easy to see if your secondary looked bad from the start without Kansas City help, right? And I thought Houston wasn't bottom of the barrel, but they wasn't good enough to beat an elite, offensive team either. And I can say the same thing with Kansas City. Kansas City was having problems on the back end. I thought outside of that one rush where David Johnson looked phenomenal and he just bulldozing guys and got in the end zone. Outside of that rush, I thought they did pretty well against the rush. David Johnson, he had a good debut. I can't knock it. We got to see though. I can't be too hard because listen, this was the first game of the season. You had no preseason, so you kind of out there. You did what they do in college football every year. You kind of just get that first game and hope for the best, right? And that's what happened. So overall, I thought it was a good first game of the season. I'm waiting to see what the test results of this game is. I'm on pins and needles. I want to see how many positive results come back from this game, and that would be the bar for the rest of the NFL season, most likely. So outside of that, I was just surprised with the fans, man. To recap, my most surprised thing was the fans' attitude. I couldn't believe that that's how we're gonna start the season with a bull crap attitude like that. So that's what I took away from that game.
Yeah, that was definitely disappointing. Thanks for clearing that up because we talked for the show. I turned the game on essentially at kickoff. I didn't get to see any of that. I mean, the ball was in the air when I turned my TV on, so I had heard about that afterwards. And I mean, the only thing I can really say is not even really being devil's advocate, but I think that people like have gotten so polarized now. Like, I think that people just don't want to see any real life in football or any sport, but that's not going to happen. It's not realistic to expect anymore. The connection between sports and the social justice movements are so inextricable at this point. And I think what's like you said, what's really disappointing is the NFL and the players have really tried to think, all right, how can we kind of show our support for what's going on, but be, I guess, is nice about it. If that's the word. That they're trying to really strike a middle ground to bring people together, and it's still making people mad. Like, the initial Kaepernick protest years ago, obviously that horse has been beat to death, but I could understand.
I think the word that best fits is the NFL is trying to compromise with the
It's
fans.
what it feels like, right? Because that's definitely what you kind of think that would happen. And it's disappointing to see, like, people kind of drew that line in the sand. We don't want to see kneeling in the flag and all that. All right. Like, we get away from that. We try something else, and it's still like it's not good enough. And that's when the players have a point like, yo, what do you want us to do? Like, what do you want from us? We're trying to make this work for everyone. We want everyone to watch. We want y'all to get the message we're trying to put out. We want you to watch the game. So yeah, that's disappointing. Hopefully that was just a one-off thing. Maybe the rest of the fans will be a little bit better about it. Some stadiums won't have any fans. Some will have, that was probably about the most fans we're going to see, that 25-30%. So, that may be a thing. And maybe the Texans got the right idea by staying in the locker room for the anthem and then coming out afterwards. It just feels that just sucks because that's like a really, like you said, it's a really kind of a sour taste, like right before the game, all this hype, and then that's like just a kind of feeling. So I thought the production, moving on from that, the production was great. I think the NFL did a great job. I didn't really notice it was limited fans or anything. It just felt like an NFL game. So again, the NBA did a pretty good job. But they maybe had a harder challenge. NFL, you can hide it a little bit better with the camera angles and stuff. But they did a great job of putting the production on and making it feel like football. And game-wise, I don't think we learned a ton from the game itself. We know the Chiefs' offseason, how it was. They were going to be dialed in. Virtually every playmaker's back, and the few they may not have don't really seem to be missed. Obviously, Mahomes, he doesn't have that $500 million hangover. He was brilliant from top to bottom in the game, from his decision-making to being elusive to his arm. One thing that really stood out was really how well Kansas City ran the ball, and take it with a grain of salt because like you said, the Texans front seven wasn't bad, but this isn't your Davian Clowney, Whitney Merciless, J.J. Watt in their prime sort of Texans from a few years ago. This unit's gone through a lot of changes, but the Chiefs' offensive line was moving bodies last night. I mean, Edwards-Helaire, he didn't really have to work for those initial yards. I mean, he was running through pretty big holes. And that's pretty terrifying, right? Because your game plan against the Chiefs, anytime you play the Chiefs, you're a defensive coordinator, Monday morning, before the game, in a week, the first thing you're going to say is, all right, we got to limit the big plays. We got to limit Mahomes down the field, two deep safeties, deep zone, keep it in front of us, short gains. Well, that doesn't really seem to work either now because the Chiefs offense led 11-play drive out of the gate. And they also had a 16-play drive that was 92 yards, I think. It was the longest in Mahomes' career to date. So one of the few weaknesses you might be able to find with this team, which was maybe the running game, which they were a little suspect in this past season, and consistently being able to move the chains, not being, we saw them, especially in the playoffs, they were real streaky. They'd have a lot of drives just 3 and out. That didn't really seem to be a thing last night. So that's terrifying to think about. They might be even better. As far as the Chiefs' defense goes, I think they were a little suspect at times. Probably gets a little oversold if you look at the final score of the game in the yards because the Texans were kind of chewing up that prevent defense in garbage time. I mean, that game was like 31-7 for a while. So, but I think that they have guys like Chris Jones back. Obviously, Shavarius Ward, he went down with a hand injury. So that secondary already a little thin, be a little thinner. L'Jarius Sneed, quick shout out to the rookie, man. He played really well. Rookie from LA Tech, 4th-round pick. He had an interception last night. He was like smothering some of those wide receivers. He looked really good. He had a couple nice breakups. I liked him a lot. I had him mocked to my team, but hey, man, he did great for Kansas City. And if he's playing well, that's going to help that unit a lot because that's probably one position they are a little light on besides a guy or two. But, overall, I think Houston, they didn't look awful. You're not going to play the Super Bowl champs every week. They are what we thought they were. Mahomes or Watson's going to have to be lights out perfect. I thought he was really good, but he wasn't like perfect, by any means. He had a couple missed passes and whatnot. Took a couple sacks. He maybe could have gotten rid of the ball, but he's going to have to be amazing for them to win games. David Johnson got that pep in his step. He looked pretty good. And the defense, I mean, they're definitely going to be the weaker side of that unit this year, and they are going to be in shootouts. So it's just going to be as what it is for the Texans. But I still think that's about an 8-8 team. I don't, you're not going to play Kansas City on the road every week. But overall, yeah, I mean, they are who we thought they were, basically, is what like you could sum the game up as far as the on-field goes.
And one more thing I want to say was shout out to the referees. The referees did not come out here just calling every call under the sun. I mean, for 3 quarters, I thought it was relatively quiet from the referees. They called a little something here, a little something there, but it wasn't like, all right, let's slow down the action, let's run to a replay. Oh yeah, they stayed out of the game for the most part. They let them play. So, got to give a shout out to the referees. So we give them a hard time when they do something wrong. We got to give them a shout out when they actually make the game more pleasurable, and that's what they did Thursday.
Absolutely, yeah. There was 6 penalties for 42 yards. It looks like, so that's pretty quiet by NFL standards.